Stephanie, and welcome to Books and Bubbly. This is the playlist where I review books that I get all bubbly about while drinking some bubbly. And today I'm going to be reviewing White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. So warning, there will be spoilers in this review. If you do not want to hear spoilers, I have a spoiler-free version of this review in my What I Read in February video, so feel free to go check that out. Otherwise, if you're here, I assume you're okay with spoilers. So I got this book from the Book Outlet, which is one of my new go-to shops for affordable books, as it sounded really interesting and it was discounted. But let's go ahead and see what the book promised to be about first. When Marigold and her newly blended family moved to the embattled city of Cedarville, Mari thinks this might be the fresh start she needs. And sorry, is it would you shorten Marigold to Mary or Mari? Because I kept reading it as Mari in my head, but it probably would be Mary. I'm going to call her Mari because that's how my brain thinks. But this renovated, picture-perfect home on Maple Street, sitting between dilapidated houses, surrounded by wary neighbors, has its secrets. And secrets always find their way through the cracks. So I will say I knew going into this that this is classified as YA, and typically YA is not my jam, but I was going to give this a try as the premise sounded really great, and it features a pull quote from R.L. Stine on the cover, so I know I'm probably in for a good time, and I'm really glad I did, because I was really pleasantly surprised with this. So while Marigold is a teen who does make some questionable choices throughout the book, I mean, she kind of has to, I still believed her as a character, and I really liked her. She didn't come across as some other YA protagonist that I have read in the past do. She is definitely battling some inner demons, as we know she's a recovering addict of some sort, and is always looking to get her hands on some weed to help her with her anxiety. And she also has this very severe obsession with bedbugs. She is always thinking that they're crawling on her or going to get her, so she compulsively thinks about how to take care of the problem and just is always repeating facts about them. So if bedbugs ick you out, you might want to skip this one because it is mentioned a lot. The book also does tackle a lot of societal issues and provides a lot of social commentary on drugs, mental health, interracial marriages and blended families, racism, gentrification, class warfare, along with potentially living in a haunted house. So the class warfare aspect actually kind of reminded me of one of my favorite movies, Hot Fuzz, with Simon Pegg, with the cult and their "for the greater good" mantra that they do. Basically Marigold and her family move into this super rundown part of town as her mom got this scholarship/residency program type award, and their house is free, but it is a real fixer-upper and has some problems, and all the neighbors seem really wary of the house, and the whole street is run down. They are the only house that is being lived in at this point. The other houses around them are just moldy and decrepit and basically burned to the ground. So like I said, the house is technically owned by the foundation that awarded her mom the program, and it's run by this man, Mr. Sterling, and Mari starts to wonder, what's going on here, how this foundation can afford to do, all these cleanup projects and, this residency program, but somehow can't clean up the wider neighborhood or provide jobs or just make the town seem a little bit more livable. There's definitely a clear delineation between the foundation and the people that run it and have money and the people that don't. So Mr. Sterling comes across as a little cartoonish in my opinion, especially his attempts at the end to take over the properties and the land that the houses are sitting on. He basically admits to his entire scheme in front of the townspeople, but no one besides Mari and her family seem to notice. He's being so obvious and giving this big affected speech and sitting there twisting his mustache and I got away with my evil plan. Are the rest of the characters in a Scooby-Doo cartoon? How are they not listening to what he is saying? Again, it's very overt, And that was one area that I did notice, like, ooh, this does skew a little young. So Mr. Sterling is essentially hoping to incite the town into violence and basically let the neighbors destroy their own homes and themselves so that the Foundation can swoop in, demolish what's been abandoned, and basically start fresh and then just make a shit ton of money. He's already worked with the others that are in on this plan, again, a la Hot Fuzz, and they've made sure to like set super strict drug rules and laws to like lock people up for minor offenses, and then basically scare the other poorer families out of town. So there is this scene with Mari's friend Erica, who smokes a joint now and then, and essentially some drugs were planted in her locker, and she's taken away. But that's it. Like, we never find out what happened to her, which is kind of leads me to my biggest criticism of this book. This ending is not great. It is extremely abrupt. So much so that I wondered if my copy was missing the last chapter or an epilogue, as I could not believe that that is how the story ended. We get no resolution to so many like plot threads and plot points. I didn't get the idea that it was written that like a sequel is going to pick it up and carry it. Like, even if there is a sequel, I'd still be mad about this ending. I still have so many questions. I still want to see certain people have conversations about all that unfolds and everything that happened. I just needed a better resolution on so many things in this. Like, what happened to Erica? Is Mari going to expose the for the greater good cult? Is she going to expose this character, Father Scott Clark? Which, his character did make me laugh because I can only think of the science teacher from Stranger Things, Scott Clark. But this guy is obviously not a good guy because he's essentially stealing money, or not stealing, he's requesting money from the townspeople in exchange for prayers and, well wishes that then gets funded into the Foundation. So again, there's the whole Foundation trying to get the neighborhood, and Mari's dad tells her to follow the money. And Scott Clark is preaching that the Lord will provide if people are good and have faith and turn away from sin and blah, blah, blah. And basically, he's like a scam artist and will send people these seeds for free if they send money back, and then God's going to bless them. Right. But it does take forever for Mari to connect the dots, that's where the money is coming from, when, again, to me, it was very obvious, but again, I have to come at this with a grain of salt because this is YA. She is like 16 or 17 maybe in this. But even that, we don't get a resolution. Will his scam be exposed? Will people revolt and like run him out of town? The world will never know. Other reviewers pointed this out on Goodreads, and it sounds like this aspect of like this in this work stands alone with it not having an ending. So it sounds like Jackson typically does a pretty good job of ending her books. This one just seems like it's kind of an outlier. So I do want to give her work a try again in the future because I did really enjoy this, but the book did lose some points for that ending. But like I said, I still really enjoyed my time with this. The scary scenes in this, so again, like weird stuff starts happening in her house. Everyone seems afraid of her house. People do not go in the basement. So you start to, like, something is going on here. The scary scenes had me at the edge of my seat, and it read very much like my favorite books growing up, the Fear Street series by R.L. Stine. And since it features a blurb by him, I think that's exactly what Jackson was going for, and she nailed it. She got it. I was sufficiently creeped out by everything that was happening in the house. The scenes where the creepy things were happening were just so well written, suspenseful, and had my full attention. Like, there were times that I was sitting on the couch that I'm like, I can't turn around right now because I'm scared there's going to be like a ghost behind me. I could feel the fear and the dread dripping off the pages. I really could not put this down, especially when all like the spooky stuff was happening, and I just had to keep reading to make sure that Mari was going to be okay after some of the traumatizing, haunting moments that happen in this book. That said, I was a wee bit disappointed that the book did not stick with the house being haunted. It's another one of those, creepy things are happening, weird sounds and smells and objects seemingly moving on their own. but it's really that somebody else lives in the house with them. So part of the town's history was that this rich family owned a bunch of the houses on the street that Mari and her family now lives on, and one of the sons was accused of liking humans that he shouldn't because they can't give consent because they are too young. And it was not true, but the townspeople were after blood, and so he and his mom escaped as the houses were connected by a series of tunnels. So they've just been living in the basements of these homes for years, and that's why they smell, that's why things have gone missing or seem to move on their own, and they're the ones making the sounds or like messing with the electricity. Again, all the classic signs of a haunting really caused by these two people. It's a fine reveal, but again, kind of a letdown. I really wanted a Simone St. James level ghost story here. But I still really enjoyed the scenes when I thought we were dealing with a legit haunted house. I really liked Mari's relationship with her younger brother Sammy, as he was so funny and likable, and I would love him to be my little brother too. Her stepsister Piper is a brat and deserved a swift kick in the shins. But the side characters did make good points about Piper, who has lost her mother and her grandmother and is now moving across the country with her dad and his new wife and her new step-siblings, and she has never exactly been like welcomed into the fold. And she is a child. She is going to lash out. She's going to get angry and push people away to have some control over her own situation and her own feelings of rejection, and essentially not let others hurt her first. I did like how Jackson portrayed the relationship between Mari and Piper and how it did have to grow and change as Mari grew and changed and overcame some of her flaws. I also really liked her friendship and somewhat romantic relationship with Yusuf, even though he came across as a lot older than his years. But I do like that he had his morals and values and he stood by them and really didn't mind calling Mari out on her shit. Like, all of her friends did. And it was kind of refreshing to not have a perfect Mary Sue YA protagonist. And her friends actually did right by her and wanted her to grow and become a better person. Again, I do wish we'd had a better ending that wrapped things up a little bit more or just gave me more. It was really like we got the big action sequence and Mari and Piper are safe, and then the book is done. What about their parents? What about Sammy? What about Yusuf? The book does end on a hopeful note of Mari wanting to enact change, but this ending was kind of weak, in my opinion. I wanted more because the rest of the book was great and deserved a great ending. All in, I'm still rating this 4 out of 5 stars. If you're like me and not typically a YA fan, I would recommend giving this a try, especially if you like horror and scary stories and loved R.L. Stine growing up. I would definitely recommend this as a good and really honestly quick spooky season or Halloween read. I do look forward to picking up another book by Jackson in the future, as I did really enjoy this work, and maybe another one she actually will stay with like a haunted house theme and actually make it haunted. That would be fantastic because she writes those scenes so well in this. So tell me, what haunted house reads have you loved? Tell me your recommendations by leaving a comment below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on Books and Bubbly.